For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On a crisp autumn morning in 2009, 34-year-old Lena Khatri, a dedicated park ranger, began her routine patrol deep within California's Redwood National and State Parks along the Bald Hills Road corridor. She never radioed back. Her locked patrol rig was soon discovered at an isolated turnout, but despite an exhaustive multi-agency investigation, sweeping the ancient forest, analyzing the abandoned vehicle, and pursuing countless dead-end leads, Lena Khatri vanished without a trace into the towering trees. For 16 long, agonizing years, her colleagues and distraught family lived with the crushing burden of unanswered questions and gnawing uncertainty. Then, in 2025, a chilling and unexpected discovery was made, turning the cold case on its head. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Lena Khatri. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. The ancient giants of Redwood National and State Parks stood in silent testament to millennia, their colossal trunks piercing the coastal fog and reaching for the California sky. This was a realm of unparalleled majesty, a vast untamed wilderness stretching for miles, where light struggled to penetrate the dense canopy and shadows often concealed more than they revealed. Within its sprawling expanse, particularly along the remote Bald Hills Road corridor, the sheer isolation offered both breathtaking beauty and opportune cover for illicit activities, hidden from the casual observer. It was into this magnificent, yet potentially treacherous environment that park ranger Lena Khatri ventured daily. At 34, Lena was a dedicated steward of these venerable forests. Her commitment to conservation was unwavering, her knowledge of the challenging terrain encyclopedic. For years, her routine patrols were a familiar rhythm against the backdrop of the towering redwoods, a testament to her steadfast presence. On a nondescript day in 2009, Lena embarked on one such standard patrol, a familiar route through the Bald Hills, a task she had performed countless times before. Her final radio check-in was expected at 17 hours. The clock ticked past the scheduled time, then 17:15, then 17:30. An uneasy silence began to settle over the park dispatch. Colleagues, accustomed to Lena's punctuality and strict adherence to protocol, felt a growing apprehension. Calls went unanswered, the static of an empty channel replacing her usually clear voice, a silence that deepened with each passing minute. As twilight began to seep into the dense forest, a preliminary search was initiated. Hours later, Lena's park-issued rig was discovered. It sat at a desolate turnout along Bald Hills Road, undisturbed, yet profoundly unsettling. The vehicle was locked, its windows intact, offering no immediate signs of forced entry or struggle. The scene presented a chilling paradox: a ranger's vehicle, neatly parked and secured, but its driver inexplicably absent. The implication was stark. Either Lena had left the vehicle willingly and unexpectedly, or she had been prevented from returning to it. This discovery sent a jolt of alarm through the park staff and local law enforcement. The initial concern quickly escalated into a full-scale emergency. Lena Khatri, a ranger deeply rooted in the heart of the Redwoods, was officially declared missing. Her disappearance a sudden, stark void in the ancient, enduring forest, leaving behind only questions and an unsettling silence. The declaration of Lena Khatri as missing triggered an immediate and extensive search effort across the vast, unforgiving landscape of Redwood National and State Parks. Hundreds of personnel, including park rangers, local law enforcement, search and rescue volunteers, and K-9 units, converged on the Bald Hills Road corridor. Helicopters crisscrossed the dense canopy, their spotlights piercing the darkness, while ground teams meticulously scoured steep ravines, ancient groves, and remote clearings, often battling the thick undergrowth and challenging terrain. The sheer scale of the wilderness, however, proved an formidable adversary. Despite the overwhelming resources deployed, weeks of exhaustive searching yielded no trace of Lena, nor any definitive clue to her whereabouts. Simultaneously, forensic investigators meticulously processed Lena's abandoned park rig and the surrounding turnout. Every inch of the vehicle, both interior and exterior, was examined. Crucially, the examination revealed no signs of forced entry, no struggle, and no blood. The locked doors and undisturbed interior suggested an absence of overt violence at the immediate scene. This lack of conventional evidence only deepened the mystery, offering no clear path for investigators to pursue. There were no footprints other than those consistent with park staff, no discarded items, nothing to indicate a struggle or a planned departure. Investigators cast a wide net, interviewing Lena's colleagues, supervisors, and any park visitors who might have seen her on the day of her disappearance. Questions focused on her routine, any recent changes in her behavior, potential conflicts, or unusual encounters. While everyone spoke of Lena's dedication and professionalism, no information emerged that pointed to a clear motive or a specific individual who might wish her harm. Early theories ranged from an accidental fall in the rugged backcountry to a deliberate disappearance, though the latter was quickly dismissed by those who knew her unwavering commitment to the park. The absence of a body, coupled with the lack of forensic indicators, bred a growing sense of frustration within the investigative team. The case was a void, echoing the vast, silent forest itself. Among those aware of the emerging enigma was Officer Mark DeSoto, a seasoned member of the park's specialized timber unit, whose focus typically lay on the illicit activities that often plagued the ancient forests, including the pervasive issue of illegal logging. The initial fervent search for Lena Khatri, encompassing hundreds of personnel and vast stretches of the Redwood National and State Parks, gradually began to lose momentum. As weeks turned into months, the leads that had initially offered fleeting hope evaporated, yielding no tangible progress. Each new tip led to another dead end. Each grid search returned empty-handed. The extensive resources poured into the investigation, while comprehensive, eventually met the insurmountable barrier of the sheer wilderness and the absence of any definitive evidence. Hope, once a driving force, began to wane, replaced by a grim resignation among those tasked with finding the missing ranger. The active investigation, once a whirlwind of activity, slowly but inexorably began to diminish its returns. The calendar pages turned, marking the agonizing passage of time. 2009 gave way to 2010, then 2011 and beyond. Each passing year deepened the mystery of Lena Khatri's disappearance, transforming it from an urgent missing persons case into a haunting enigma. For Lena's family, the wait was an unending torment, a void that no explanation could fill, no comfort could soothe. They lived suspended between hope and despair, clinging to the smallest possibility, while confronted daily with the crushing reality of her absence. Within the park community, Lena's name became synonymous with an unresolved tragedy, a painful reminder of the dangers inherent in their noble profession. Eventually, the active investigation, having exhausted all conventional avenues, transitioned into a cold file. Lena Khatri's case was formally reclassified, moving from the front lines of daily police work to the archived shelves of unsolved mysteries. It became a spectral presence within law enforcement databases, a digital entry representing a human life that had simply vanished. This cold file, however, remained a burning memory for those who had known Lena. Her colleagues carried the weight of her absence, the unspoken question of what had truly transpired in the ancient forests. The emotional toll was profound and pervasive. Friends and family grappled with the unique burden of ambiguous loss, unable to mourn a definitive end, yet unable to hold on to a reasonable hope for her return. The lack of closure cast a long, enduring shadow over their lives, a testament to the unyielding power of an unresolved disappearance. 16 years had passed since Lena Khatri disappeared into the vast expanse of Redwood National and State Parks. The calendar had turned from 2009 to 2025, each year adding another layer of dust to the cold case file, another measure of anguish to her family. The mystery had solidified into a permanent fixture of local law, a tragic anecdote whispered among park staff, and a grim reminder of the forest's unyielding secrets. Yet the relentless march of time, which had once seemed to bury the truth deeper, would unexpectedly bring it to light. In an unrelated sweep of an old neglected storage unit associated with a decommissioned forestry outpost, a seemingly innocuous object was discovered. Tucked away amongst forgotten equipment and obsolete tools lay a cracked handheld radio microphone. Its plastic casing was scuffed and marred, but what immediately drew attention were the faint amber-colored streaks clinging to its surface, an unusual residue that seemed out of place. The discovery, seemingly minor, held an unforeseen weight, a potential echo from a long silent past. The mic, along with other items, was transferred to the evidence lab for routine processing. There, it landed on the workbench of evidence technician Ruth O'Malley. A meticulous professional with an eye for the overlooked, O'Malley began her examination. Her initial assessment noted the distinct viscous nature of the residue, clearly not typical dust or grime. Under magnification, the material revealed itself as a type of resin, its organic composition suggesting a connection to plant matter. The mic itself, a standard model, bore a faint, barely legible serial number. A cross-reference against park inventory records yielded an astonishing, almost unbelievable match. The cracked handheld mic, with its peculiar resin traces, was confirmed to be the property of park ranger Lena Khatri. The revelation sent a jolt through the dormant investigation. For 16 years, there had been no tangible link, no physical object directly connected to Lena's disappearance that could provide a new direction. Now, this single damaged piece of equipment had emerged from the shadows, a silent witness finally capable of speaking. Lena Khatri's cold case, long relegated to the archives of unsolved mysteries, was now dramatically and unequivocally reignited, breathing new life into a search for answers that had been frozen in time. The discovery of Lena Khatri's handheld microphone, 16 years after her disappearance, transformed the cold case from a lingering mystery into an active potential homicide investigation. The fragile hope that Lena might still be alive, however remote, was now overshadowed by the grim implications of a damaged mic found under suspicious circumstances. Detectives, many of whom were not even on the force in 2009, were assigned to the resurrected case, poring over the meticulously archived original files with fresh eyes, now armed with a tangible piece of evidence. The resin traces clinging to the mic became the undisputed focal point of this renewed inquiry. Forensic specialists, including botanists and chemists, were immediately brought in to analyze the sticky residue. Their task was to precisely identify the botanical origin of the resin, to determine if it belonged to a specific species of tree, and potentially to narrow down its geographic source. The very nature of the Redwood National and State Parks, with its ancient, valuable timber, instantly suggested a connection to the lucrative and often illicit world of logging. The Bald Hills Road corridor, Lena's last known patrol area, was once again highlighted as a zone where illegal activities, particularly the harvesting of valuable burl, were known to occur. Investigators began to meticulously revisit every piece of old intelligence related to illegal logging and timber theft within the park boundaries. Decades of reports, informant tips, and confiscated equipment records were pulled from storage, examined for any overlooked detail that might now align with the presence of the resin. The focus shifted from a general missing persons inquiry to a targeted search for individuals or groups involved in the clandestine removal of redwood burl. This pivot brought Officer Mark DeSoto, the seasoned timber unit officer who had been aware of the initial missing persons case, back into the forefront. His specialized knowledge of the illegal timber trade, its players, methods, and specific locations within the vast park became indispensable. DeSoto had spent years tracking the shadow economy of the redwoods, understanding the immense value placed on certain cuts of timber and the lengths some would go to acquire them. The old timber theft lead, once a peripheral possibility in Lena's disappearance, now took on a chilling new significance. The resin, a silent witness from the past, was beginning to speak, whispering of a violent encounter rooted deep within the ancient, hallowed groves. The renewed focus on illegal timber operations within Redwood National and State Parks soon yielded the crucial link investigators had desperately sought for 16 years. In an unrelated federal investigation targeting organized timber theft rings operating across Northern California, a significant raid on a clandestine logging outfit's storage facility uncovered a meticulously kept ledger. This handwritten book, filled with dates, quantities, and illicit transactions, detailed the illegal harvesting and sale of redwood burl. It was a comprehensive record of a shadowy enterprise, and its seizure, initially considered a win in a separate case, would prove to be the linchpin in Lena Khatri's disappearance. The ledger, now in the possession of the federal task force, was cross-referenced with ongoing investigations, including the reopened Lena Khatri case. What followed was a stunning forensic confirmation. Samples of the resin found on Lena's cracked handheld microphone, still under Ruth O'Malley's meticulous analysis, were compared against residual matter found within the pages of the seized Burr logging ledger and on tools documented within the same raid. The results were unequivocal. The unique chemical signature of the resin from the mic was an exact match to the resin traces found on the ledger. Furthermore, soil particles meticulously extracted from the mic's crevices also matched the distinct geological composition of soil samples collected from the raid site and areas detailed in the ledger as active illegal logging zones. This undeniable physical link forged a concrete connection between Lena Khatri, her last known moments, and the illicit world of timber theft. The long-dormant timber theft lead, once a peripheral theory, was now definitively substantiated. It was no longer a suspicion, but a tangible physical reality. The resin and soil had become silent witnesses, testifying to Lena's presence at an illegal logging operation. The ledger itself, once deciphered, began to reveal key players. Among the names frequently appearing was Richard Big Rick Alvarez, a local hauler with a reputation for moving product for various clandestine operations. Alvarez, known to law enforcement for his tangential involvement in past timber-related infractions, was now propelled to the forefront of the investigation, his connection to the matched ledger making him the prime suspect. For the investigative team, years of frustrating dead ends dissolved in an instant. This was the aha moment, the breakthrough that provided a clear direction and, finally, a potential motive for Lena Khatri's disappearance. The ancient forest had finally begun to yield its secrets. The undeniable forensic match between Lena Khatri's microphone, the seized Burr logging ledger, and the unique resin and soil samples provided the long-awaited framework to reconstruct the events of that fateful day 16 years prior. The pieces, once scattered and seemingly unrelated, now clicked into place, painting a grim picture of Lena's final patrol. On that day in 2009, Ranger Khatri, performing her routine duties along the Bald Hills Road corridor, had inadvertently stumbled upon an active illegal burl logging operation. Her commitment to protecting the ancient redwoods had placed her directly in the path of those who profited from their destruction. The confrontation, likely swift and unexpected, had led to her disappearance. The damaged mic, discarded in the ensuing struggle, was a silent testament to the violence she endured, silenced before she could radio for help. With Richard Big Rick Alvarez identified through the ledger as a central figure in the illicit enterprise, law enforcement moved swiftly. The evidence was overwhelming. The meticulously kept records of stolen timber, the forensic link to Lena's personal equipment, and Alvarez's known history within the shadowy world of Redwood theft. Alvarez and several associates implicated in the ledger were apprehended, facing charges related to organized timber theft and, crucially, the disappearance of Ranger Lena Khatri. Interrogations began, slowly peeling back layers of deception and fear, confirming the motive. Lena had witnessed a crime of immense financial gain, and those involved had acted to ensure her silence, preventing her from exposing their lucrative operation. While the breakthrough provided profound clarity regarding the circumstances of Lena's disappearance and the identities of those responsible, the ultimate resolution of her fate remained a poignant absence. The investigation, now centered on the alleged perpetrators, sought not only justice for the timber theft, but also answers regarding Lena's body, which, despite renewed, targeted searches, was never recovered. The solving of the case brought a measure of understanding and accountability, but for her family, the lack of a final resting place continued to be a source of enduring grief. Lena Khatri's story resonated deeply within Redwood National and State Parks and across the wider conservation community. Her tragic disappearance underscored the perilous realities faced by park rangers, who often stand as the sole guardians against those who exploit natural resources for illicit gain. Her legacy became a stark reminder of the dark underbelly of resource theft, a criminal enterprise that could escalate to the gravest of consequences. Her name, once synonymous with a baffling cold case, now stood as a symbol of sacrifice, a testament to the unwavering dedication required to protect the ancient, majestic forests she so deeply cherished, a dedication that ultimately cost her life.